Have you ever noticed the quiet, stinging shame that comes with caring too much? What if the thing you are desperately trying to hide, your deep capacity to feel, to love, to invest, is actually the source of your greatest strength, merely misunderstood by a world that praises indifference? Most people do not realize that the embarrassment of caring is not a sign of weakness. It is simply the friction between your authentic heart and a society that teaches us to perform. If you have ever felt emotionally exhausted, ignored, or foolish for holding on when others seem to walk away so easily, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you see this pain forever. 1. The burden of a heavy heart. Here is the truth few people want to face. We are conditioned to believe that whoever cares less wins. The tighter you hold on to your indifference, the safer you are supposed to be. You know the exact feeling of this trap. You send a thoughtful, carefully written message and receive a detached, one-word reply. You pour your absolute best energy into a relationship, a workplace, or a friendship, only to watch the other person treat your effort as casual, temporary, or merely convenient. And in that hollow space of silence, a cold wave washes over you. Embarrassment. You suddenly feel foolish. You tell yourself you are too sensitive. You tell yourself you are ridiculous for trying so hard, for hoping so much, for caring so deeply. You feel exposed, as if your open heart is a liability that everyone else can see. You start to believe that caring deeply is a profound flaw you must immediately correct. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us something entirely different about the nature of the heart. In Buddhist thought, the capacity to care, to feel deeply, and to extend genuine compassion is never a passion-centered weakness. It is the very foundation of an awakened, mindful life. The suffering you are experiencing does not actually come from the fact that you care. It comes from the attachment to how others receive that care. We suffer because we desperately expect the world to mirror our depth back to us. We tie our self-worth to their reaction rather than our own action. Imagine a powerful river flowing endlessly toward the open ocean. The river does not apologize for its force. It does not shrink, dry up, or hold back its life-giving water simply because the stones on the riverbed are hard, cold, and unmoving. It simply flows. It remains entirely true to its nature. When you feel embarrassed by how much you care, you are like that river, suddenly ashamed of your own water, trying to stop your natural flow simply because the stones around you do not respond. We see this silent tragedy every day in modern life. You overthink a genuine conversation, agonizing over whether you revealed too much. You hold back your passion and enthusiasm because no one else around you seems to care. You build thick, invisible walls in your relationships because you are deeply tired of being the only one who reaches out first. You learn to perform detachment. You wear a mask of indifference as a shield to protect yourself from the sharp sting of being misunderstood. But performing detachment does not actually make you safe. It only makes you numb. It distances you from the very core of who you are. Ask yourself right now, think about your own life. When you put on that mask of not caring, are you actually protecting your heart, or are you just slowly starving it? What are you afraid will happen if you simply let yourself care without needing applause? Pause, breathe. Observe the thought without following it into the darkness of shame. Let the feeling of embarrassment rise, but do not make it your identity. You do not need to apologize for the size of your heart. But letting go of this embarrassment requires us to understand the false protection we have built around ourselves, because peace is not found in shutting down. And this is where the next truth begins. 2. The armor of apathy. What if the walls you built to keep out the pain are the very things keeping out the peace? Here is a difficult truth. Apathy is not strength. It is simply exhaustion in disguise. When we are repeatedly burned by caring too much, we learn to retreat. We try to become unbothered. We play the silent, agonizing game of who can care less. We delay our responses, we hide our genuine excitement, and we swallow our affection before it can ever reach our lips. We convince ourselves that if we expect nothing, we can never be disappointed. If someone ignores us, we pretend we never noticed. If a situation falls apart, we pretend we never wanted it to succeed. We wear indifference like a heavy suit of armor, walking through our days trying desperately to prove to the world and to ourselves that nothing can touch us anymore. But Buddhism reminds us that closing the heart does not end suffering. It only changes its shape. In Buddhist thought, the attempt to avoid pain by cutting off our connection to the world creates a profound kind of inner friction. True peace, true non-attachment, does not mean feeling nothing. It means feeling everything without letting it consume you. When we force ourselves into apathy, we are not practicing non-attachment. We are simply practicing fear. We are clinging just as tightly to the illusion of safety as we once clung to the illusion of control. Imagine a bird resting inside an open cage. The iron door is wide open. The sky is vast and waiting, but the bird refuses to fly because it deeply remembers the sting of a past winter storm. It huddles in the shadow, entirely safe from the cold wind, but entirely disconnected from the very sky it was meant to navigate. The cage is no longer keeping the bird trapped. The bird is keeping itself trapped. And in its attempt to avoid the harsh weather, it slowly forgets what it means to be alive. How often do you sit in that open cage? You hold back your true thoughts in a conversation, fearing quiet rejection. You refuse to express your real depth in a relationship, terrified that the other person will walk away. You watch life happen from a safe, calculated distance, observing others but never fully participating. Because participation requires vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like a risk you can no longer afford to take. You mistake this emotional distance for peace. But deep down, it feels incredibly heavy. It feels incredibly lonely. Think about that. Ask yourself right now, what are you actually protecting when you pretend not to care? Is this heavy armor keeping you safe? Or is it just keeping you completely isolated from the life you truly want to live? Stop. Breathe. Stop trying to force yourself to feel nothing. Allow yourself to be soft in a world that demands hardness. Let the armor drop, just for a moment in the quiet of your own mind. Do your part, then release the outcome. You do not have to harden your heart to survive this world. You do not have to become cold to become strong, because beneath every forced reaction is a deep exhaustion waiting to be understood. And to truly find your peace, we must first look at the relentless performance we have been putting on for so long. 3. The exhaustion of the performer. What if the heaviest weight you carry is not your feelings, but the mask you wear to hide them? Here is a truth that demands deep honesty. Trying to appear unbothered takes a devastating amount of energy. You know the quiet exhaustion of this performance. It is the careful calculation of how long to wait before sending a message, just so you do not appear too eager. It is the forced smile when someone says something that quietly breaks your heart, because you do not want to be labeled as too sensitive. It is the agonizing process of diluting your passion, shrinking your presence, and editing your genuine reactions before they ever reach the surface. You curate an image of someone who is completely in control, endlessly casual, and perfectly detached. But behind closed doors, you are completely drained. You are spiritually and mentally exhausted, not from the simple act of living, but from the relentless, unpaid job of managing how everyone else perceives you. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is understanding the heavy burden of the ego. The ego is the part of the mind that constantly seeks approval, fears judgment, and desperately tries to maintain an image. When you are performing for the world, you are feeding this illusion. You are clinging tightly to a fabricated version of yourself. Buddhism reminds us that this constant curation is a profound source of suffering. Peace does not come from perfecting the mask. Peace comes from realizing you do not need to wear it at all. The energy you spend trying to control others' perceptions is energy violently stolen from your own inner peace. Imagine a person standing waist-deep in the rough ocean, desperately fighting off the crashing waves just to keep their clothes perfectly dry. They twist, they turn, they hold their breath, and they fight the immense weight of the water with everything they have. They want the ocean to see them as untouched by the tide. But the ocean does not care about their effort, and the water always wins. The exhaustion does not come from the ocean itself. It comes from the frantic, impossible resistance. The moment they surrender and simply let the water wash over them, the struggle ends. They are wet, yes, but the exhausting fight is finally over. They are suddenly free. We fight the ocean every day in our modern lives. You walk into a room and instantly adjust your personality to match the unwritten expectations of others. You swallow your true feelings in a friendship to avoid making waves. You pretend you do not need deep reassurance in your relationship because you think asking for it makes you look weak. You spend your entire day fighting the natural tide of your own emotions just to project a fragile image of perfect calm. Think about your own life. Ask yourself right now, who are you constantly performing for? When you lie awake at night in the quiet dark, is it your true self that is tired, or is it the character you played all day? What are you afraid will happen if you simply let the mask fall? Pause, breathe. Notice the tight grip you hold on your own image. Let the feeling of having to prove yourself rise, and then let it pass without giving it power. Stop trying to fight the ocean. You do not need to perform your way into being respected. You can just be. The energy spent hiding your true heart could finally be used to heal it. Because letting go of the performance makes room for something much more powerful. And this is where the next truth begins. 4. The wisdom of caring without clinging. What if you could love deeply, invest fully, and care completely, without desperately needing anything in return? Here is a truth that changes everything. Caring and clinging are entirely different things, though we often confuse the two. We are taught to confuse love with ownership. We confuse caring with trying to control the outcome. When we pour our hearts into a project, a friendship, or a romantic relationship, we often secretly attach an invisible invoice to our effort. We expect a specific return. We want them to understand our sacrifice. We want them to stay forever. We want the exact result we pictured in our minds. And when reality does not match our silent expectations, when a message goes unanswered, when a friend pulls away, when our effort goes unnoticed, our care, instant easy, turns into sharp resentment. We feel deeply betrayed, but often the pain is not because they failed us, but because our tight attachment to the outcome was denied. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound practice of non-attachment. This does not mean you become cold or stop caring. In fact, true non-attachment allows you to care even more deeply, because your care is no longer conditional. It is the practice of offering your heart without a hidden agenda. Buddhism reminds us that impermanence is the nature of all things. People will change, affections will shift, chapters will close. When we cling to a specific outcome, we guarantee our own suffering. But when we care without clinging, we offer love as a free gift, releasing the heavy, agonizing need to control how it is received. Imagine holding a handful of dry, fine sand. If you leave your hand gently open and relaxed, the sand rests peacefully in your palm. It stays exactly where it is. But the moment you become afraid of losing it, the moment you panic, clench your fist, and try to squeeze it tightly to keep it safe, the sand slips through your fingers. The harder you grip, the faster it falls away into the wind. You lose the very thing you were desperately trying to protect, not because you did not care, but because you tried to trap it. We do this constantly in our daily lives. You try to force a drifting relationship to work by suffocating the other person with anxious attention. You obsess over a career milestone, tying your entire sense of self-worth to whether you receive the praise of your peers. You demand absolute loyalty from a friend and panic at the first sign of their independence or distance. You grip the sand so tightly that you crush the natural, beautiful rhythm of the connection. You become so terrified of being abandoned, ignored, or left behind that you destroy the quiet peace of the present moment. Think about your own life. What are you currently holding on to with a tightly clenched fist? Ask yourself right now, are you genuinely caring for this person or situation, or are you just trying to control them so you feel safe? What would happen if you simply opened your hand, pause, breathe, let the feeling of grasping rise in your chest, and then gently let it go? Do your part, offer your absolute best, then completely release the outcome. Stop trying to force the door open. Let the sand rest in your open palm, because peace is not found in forcing the world to stay exactly where you want it. It is found in loving the world exactly as it is, even as it moves. But to truly let go of that suffocating grip, we must first look at what we are secretly hoping to get in return for our effort. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. The fragility of praise. What if the validation you are so desperately waiting for is actually the very thing keeping you trapped? Here is the truth few people want to face. When you rely on external applause to feel valuable, you are handing the control of your peace over to a completely unpredictable crowd. You know the deep exhaustion of this cycle. You stay up late finishing a heavy project for work, secretly hoping your manager will finally recognize your endless dedication. You go out of your way to support a friend in crisis, quietly waiting for them to acknowledge how much you sacrificed. You shape your personality, your choices, and your daily responses around what will earn you a smile, a compliment, or a simple expression of gratitude. But when that praise does not come, when your pure effort is met with silence, or worse, casual indifference, your entire sense of self-worth instantly collapses. You feel deeply embarrassed for trying so hard. You start to quietly believe that if no one noticed your care, then your care must not have mattered at all. In Buddhist thought, relying on external validation is like building a house on shifting, unpredictable sand. Buddhism reminds us of the constant, unavoidable turning of the worldly winds, the endless cycle of praise and blame, gain and loss, fame and insignificance. These external forces are entirely impermanent. They change as quickly and carelessly as the weather. If your inner peace rises only when you are praised and shatters when you are ignored, you will always be a prisoner to the changing moods of others. True freedom means realizing that your deep worth is not something that can be granted by another person's words, and it cannot be erased by their silence. Imagine a brilliant full moon reflecting on the surface of a deep, quiet lake. When the water is completely calm, the reflection is perfect, bright, and beautifully undeniable. But when a sudden, violent storm rolls in and the wind whips the water into chaos, the reflection immediately shatters. The image in the water breaks into 1,000 fragmented, dancing pieces. However, high above the storm, the moon itself has not changed at all. It remains entirely whole. It remains brilliant. When you depend on praise, you are identifying only with the fragile reflection on the troubled water. You forget that you are actually the moon, entirely untouched by the chaotic storms of other people's opinions. We live in a world that constantly begs you to stare at the reflection. You share pieces of your life online, waiting anxiously for the temporary warmth of a notification. You bend over backwards in a complex relationship, silently keeping score of how often your partner actually thanks you. You completely exhaust yourself trying to be the perfect employee, the perfect friend, or the perfect partner, measuring your absolute value by how loudly others clap. You become so attached to the fragile reflection of praise that you completely forget your own inherent, silent worth. Think about your own life. Ask yourself right now, whose applause are you quietly waiting for? What are you afraid will happen if you simply stop performing for their approval? Is the pursuit of their praise actually bringing you peace? Or is it just feeding your deepest fear of being invisible? Pause, breathe. Let the desperate need for validation rise, and simply watch it pass like a dark cloud drifting across a vast sky. Do your part, then release the need to be noticed. Stop waiting for the world to tell you that you are enough, because a peace built on the applause of others will always vanish the moment the room goes quiet. To find a strength that never fades, we must learn to look elsewhere. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. Building a quiet self-respect. What if the strongest thing you can ever do is simply stop trying to prove your worth? Here is a truth that demands deep honesty. You cannot build genuine self-respect while constantly auditioning for the approval of others. We spend so much of our lives desperately trying to be understood. When someone misunderstands our deep care, our immediate instinct is to fight back with evidence. We over-explain our choices. We send long, emotionally exhausted messages, trying to force the other person to see our good intentions. We defend our simple boundaries with paragraphs of justification, terrified of being seen as cold or unkind. We try to be the perfect friend, the flawless worker, the eternally devoted partner, quietly hoping our sheer effort will finally force the world to respect us. We make so much noise trying to prove our value. But this noise is not strength. It is a deep, agonizing insecurity. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that true self-respect is not loud. It is completely silent. In Buddhist thought, peace is rooted in right intention and right action, not in how those actions are received by the crowd. The Buddha taught that just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, the wise are not shaken by praise or blame. When you truly know your own heart, you do not need to convince the world that it is good. Your worth does not require a defense attorney. When you let go of the frantic need to prove yourself, you begin to build a quiet, unshakable respect for your own inner life. Imagine an ancient, massive tree standing alone in a dense forest. It does not shout to the other trees to prove it is growing. It does not demand the wind notice how deep its roots go. Through violent storms, heavy rain, and completely silent nights, it simply stands. Its strength is not a performance for the forest. Its strength is its quiet existence, firmly planted deep in the earth. The tree does not feel embarrassed when the sun hides behind the clouds. It knows exactly what it is. We forget to be the tree. You are constantly trying to shout in the forest. You exhaust yourself trying to convince a distant partner that you are worth choosing. You overwork yourself into illness, hoping your sheer output will force a demanding workplace to finally respect you. You compromise your own peace because you are terrified of someone thinking poorly of you. You are constantly performing strength, but you are slowly breaking inside. You are begging the wind to notice your roots. Think about your own life. Ask yourself right now, where are you still auditioning for a role you do not even need? Whose mind are you desperately trying to change? What would happen if you simply stopped over-explaining yourself? Is the noise you make trying to prove your worth actually bringing you peace? Or is it just creating more exhaustion? Pause. Breathe. Let the urgent need to defend yourself rise, and gently let it fall away. Your intentions belong only to you. You do not have to convince anyone of your goodness. Stop trying to force the world to see your roots. You can let your actions speak, and let their silence be enough. Because when you finally stop trying to prove how much you care, you are left with something completely unbreakable. But holding on to that quiet respect requires a very specific kind of bravery, and this is where the next truth begins. 7. The courage of remaining open. What if the ultimate test of your strength is not how well you protect your heart, but how willing you are to keep it open? Here is a difficult truth. When we are repeatedly hurt, ignored, or made to feel foolish, for our deep care, the most natural human instinct is to completely shut down. You know the silent promise you make to yourself in the dark. We vow never to be that vulnerable again. We decide that if caring deeply brings the agonizing sting of embarrassment, we will simply stop caring. We build a massive, invisible fortress. We tell ourselves we are being smart, mature, and safe. We believe we are protecting ourselves from future disappointment by expecting absolutely nothing from anyone. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us that a closed heart is its own profound kind of suffering. Buddhism reminds us that the true path to inner peace is not found in building higher walls, but in cultivating boundless compassion, even when the world is profoundly unkind. When we aggressively close our hearts to avoid the possibility of pain, we simultaneously close them to joy, connection, and light. True courage, in the Buddhist view, is not the ability to feel nothing. It is maintaining a soft heart in a hard world. It is the bravery to remain open. Imagine a beautiful, quiet room heated by a single warm fire. If you deeply fear the bitter winter storm outside, you might violently slam the heavy iron door shut and lock it tight. You do stay safe from the wind for a short time, but soon the air inside grows stale. The fire slowly consumes all the oxygen, flickering until it completely dies out. The room becomes incredibly cold and dark anyway. The only way to keep the fire truly alive is to keep a window open to the world, trusting that the inner warmth of the fire is stronger than the temporary chill of the breeze. We slam the iron door all the time in modern life. You endure a painful rejection and silently decide that trusting others is a foolish game you will never play again. You pour your entire soul into a creative effort that is totally ignored, and you vow to only ever give the bare minimum from now on. You withdraw into a quiet isolation, refusing to let anyone see your true depth because you are terrified they will judge you. You lock the door to protect your warmth, but you are slowly freezing in the dark room of your own making. Think about your own life. Ask yourself right now, where have you locked the heavy door? Are you truly protecting yourself by staying closed, or are you just suffocating your own capacity for joy? What are you afraid will happen if you simply turn the lock and let the air in? Pause. Breathe. Feel the tight, defensive lock on your own heart. Let the fear of being misunderstood rise, and then let it pass. Stop trying to protect yourself from the basic experience of living. Let the cold wind blow, knowing your inner fire is absolutely strong enough to survive it. You do not need to be hard to be safe. You only need to be deeply, quietly rooted in your own truth. But taking this brave step forward requires us to release our deepest, oldest demand of the world. And this is where the next truth begins. 8. Releasing the need to be understood. What if the deepest source of your anxiety is not your capacity to care, but your endless demand to be completely understood by people who are simply not ready to see you? Here is a truth that can finally set you free. You do not need the world to agree with your heart, for your heart to be right. We spend entire lifetimes desperately translating our souls into languages other people can digest. When we care deeply, we want the other person to recognize the purity of that care. If they misinterpret our effort, if they label us as foolish, intense, or simply too much, we immediately panic. You know this agonizing cycle. We draft long, desperate mental essays in the shower. We endlessly replay old conversations, obsessively searching for the exact combination of words that will finally make them see our pure intentions. We secretly believe that if they just understood why we care so much, the heavy embarrassment would vanish. We tie our peace entirely to their comprehension. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us that this desperate need to be understood is just another subtle, agonizing form of attachment. We are attaching our inner peace to someone else's level of awareness. In Buddhist thought, we are constantly reminded that everyone views the world strictly through the lens of their own conditioning, their own fears, and their own limitations. When you aggressively demand that someone else sees your light, you are violently fighting reality. Letting go means quietly accepting that you will often be misunderstood and deciding that your peace is infinitely more important than being proven right. Imagine standing before a beautiful, ancient, vast mountain. You can shout your deepest secrets, your purest intentions, and your most profound love into the rocky canyons. But the mountain will only ever echo back a distorted fragment of your own voice, shaped entirely by the hard stone. It cannot ever give you the deep, nuanced understanding you crave. The mountain is not cruel. It is not punishing you. It is simply made of rock. When you completely exhaust yourself, trying to force others to understand your deep care, you are screaming at the mountain, utterly heartbroken that it does not speak your language. We scream at the stone every single day. You argue with a distant family member, endlessly circling the same exhausted points, just begging them to finally validate your feelings. You quietly obsess over someone who walked away effortlessly, writing imaginary letters in your head to explain how deeply you love them. You twist your own reality, shrinking your immense depth, just trying to make your truth perfectly digestible for someone who simply does not have the capacity to hold it. You are begging the mountain to become an ocean. Think about your own life. Ask yourself right now, whose misunderstanding are you still desperately trying to correct? What are you truly afraid will happen if you simply let them be wrong about you? Is this endless mental defense bringing you peace, or is it only feeding your profound exhaustion? Pause, breathe. Let the heavy, suffocating burden of having to explain yourself rise in your chest, and then let it go completely. Observe the desperate urge to defend your heart without following it into battle. Stop translating your soul for those who choose not to listen. Let them misunderstand you. You do not need their comprehension to validate your existence. Your care is beautiful and completely valid simply because it exists within you. Because when you finally stop fighting so hard for the world to see you, you suddenly realize you have always been whole. And this is where the final truth begins. 9. The silent strength of who you are. Let us return to that quiet, stinging shame we spoke about at the very beginning. That heavy embarrassment you feel when you suddenly realize you care much more than the people around you. For so long, you have treated this depth as a profound flaw. You have spent years trying to shrink it, hide it, and apologize for it. You performed indifference. You put on the heavy, agonizing armor of apathy. You desperately chased the fleeting applause of praise, completely exhausting yourself in a relentless attempt to prove your worth to a world that was looking the other way. But here is the truth that brings all of this together. The love, the care, and the deep investment you offered were never wasted. Not even when they were ignored. Not even when they were completely misunderstood. Buddhism teaches us that the purity of your heart is entirely independent of how it is received. The deep capacity to care is a reflection of your own inner light, not a transaction that requires a receipt. When you finally let go of the agonizing need for external validation, you do not lose your ability to love. Instead, you strip away the heavy attachment, the fear, and the frantic control. You step out of the exhausting performance. What remains is a quiet, unshakable self-respect. A respect that is so deeply rooted in the present moment that it no longer requires an audience to be real. Imagine that powerful river from our first lesson finally reaching the vast, endless ocean. For miles and miles it crashed against hard, cold, unmoving stones. It twisted through narrow, dark canyons. It may have even felt foolish for flowing so fiercely when the earth around it was so entirely still. But as the river merges with the deep sea, all of that friction completely vanishes. The river does not look back at the stones and demand an apology. It does not feel embarrassed by its own natural force. It simply realizes that it was always meant to flow, and it has finally found its way home. You are the river. You have spent so much time fighting the stones, begging them to soften, begging them to understand your water. But the exhaustion is finally over. You no longer have to translate your soul for those who cannot hear you. You no longer have to perform your detachment. You can let your self-respect become much quieter than your performance, but infinitely stronger than any praise you could ever receive. You can care deeply, completely, and fearlessly, knowing that your peace does not depend on anyone else's reaction. Think about that as you move forward. Do not be ashamed of your capacity to feel. In a world that so often chooses numbness, your open heart is an act of quiet rebellion. It is the very foundation of your inner peace. Notice the moments when you want to hide your heart and choose to simply breathe instead. Trust in your own depth. Walk gently in your own truth. Allow the embarrassment to rise and watch it simply melt away into the vast ocean of your own unshakable self-respect. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.